They tryna turn Trenton into Baby Flint. Been signs by depression on the billboards ever since. 100 years ago we was lynched. Now they use germ warfare to kill us. I'm convinced, got the evidence. I look around and it's evident. Then go down to City Hall and see so much negligence. Real art is intelligent. A true artist sends messages that speak to your intelligence. They fought and died so I can do my thing. Not to get drunk and high or join no gang. I will not let none of you die in vain. For my people I bang, bang, bang. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. They say post-traumatic slavery disorder's fake, but I just tell them all to wake up. Everything we went through, what a way down a rape, bro. Isn't our genetic makeup. So I am my ancestors from block to block. Let's build like it's Tetris. We must unite, link up like a necklace. They fought and died and we disrespected. So I come to correct it. The legacy they left I protected. We only think about self and neglected. You're African but yet you rejected. No. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. I do. I go.
Welcome back to another edition of New Freedom XChange, your cultural expression for social dignity and community empowerment. I'm your co-host, Brother Dean Mujahideen, here with
Assalamu alaikum. It's Imam Bilal Hassan. We're live here, streaming to you live on New Freedom XChange and also New Freedom Network as well. So please, when you get a moment, to like our channels here on Facebook and also subscribe to our YouTube channels for New Freedom XChange with an X and New Freedom Network as well. So good Saturday. It is still New Freedom February as we come to a conclusion of the month and of our programming, and we look to the future months coming up. We do have an excellent show tonight lined up for everyone. But before we get to that, our dear Sister Marcia will be joining us soon, our program director, so stay tuned for that. She'll be popping in shortly. And also one of our other special guests will be popping in shortly as well. In the meantime, between time, let us do our salams to our audience there. And if you are tuned in, salam alaikum salam, Sister Khadija, thank you for joining. As always, please share the live stream to your friends and to your family. If you're tuned in on Facebook, share on your Facebook pages and groups or whatever have you. And if you're tuned in on YouTube, share the YouTube link to your friends and family as well so they can tap into the conversation that will be had tonight. And again, please, as always, give salams, give peace to the space. We'll recognize you. Let us know what city, what state, or what country you're tuned in from so we can shout you out. And as always, we appreciate those who have been our supporters since day one and continue to do sharing. And also our new supporters, those who may be newly watching us from wherever you are. We appreciate you as well for being a new supporter. So welcome to the space. And I think, what just popped in there? Okay. I think yeah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Y'all tried to have an HBCU conversation without me? No, sir. No,
not
sir.
at all.
We're just getting warmed up, you know.
Okay.
We're just getting warmed up with the intro. I mean, we might want to do the intro again because we have the sister.
Welcome back.
But how is everyone doing? How was everyone's week so far been?
Things have been pretty good. I actually just had to at the last minute go pick up my daughters. They were the Hood Chronicles. They were on the bus. And they said a woman got on the bus with her husband. The husband, I guess, had some vision impairments, and so she just told one of the young boys on the bus, "Get up. My husband needs to sit. He can't see." You know the type of hood shenanigans that sometimes happens. And so they start the arguing. The bus driver doesn't want to move the bus. They got off. Well, actually, he put the bus out of service, so everybody had to get off. So they walked to another bus stop, and then I had to go get them at the last minute. So that was my exciting last 20 minutes. But other than that, the week was really, really good. Not too much going on that I could remember. Work, children, building. That's what we do. How about for y'all?
That's what we do. Excellent. Of course, I'm always in motion. So right now I'm in a hidden location in the part of the masjid trying to be quiet because it is Isha time. So I'm not going to be on here too long with you all, but I did want to greet everyone for this excellent event. It is Savior's Day, right? Happy Savior's Day for those who are aware of that. It is the birth date, technically, quote unquote, of our community's history into Al-Islam. And it's a day that we reflect on our progression in Al-Islam with our understanding and our community development goals. So just wanted to give that shout out, and all the HBCU. I mean, I'm not leaving because I'm not HBCU, but I love your HBCU crew. I hear it all the time from these two. So I'll be tuning in, listening to the sisters that y'all got lined up, and inshallah, y'all guys have a great show. I kind of did an intro and a salamo at the same time. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's legit or not.
What? I guess.
He think he's funny, y'all. He think he's funny, but I'm telling y'all, that was so corny.
Hold on. Just for that. No, hold on. Since you want to do that,
what is this? What is this coming up?
Uh-oh.
I ain't gonna get crazy. I'm in the mash.
Go ahead, Bilal. Tell us about your week.
I'm in the mash shit. What's up, Bilal?
Alhamdulillah, the week was well. What was about my week? Oh, well, I mean, job related, everything is going well. Job related. What's this cool to? Anything cool to talk about? I mean, yeah, the mentoring program is going really well on Saturdays. That's my early morning is dedicated to the scholars who are high school and middle schoolers. Swimming in the morning, go to monitor the swimming situation, and most of our scholars are making good headway in their swimming class in the mornings, and in the afternoon the late morning, so that's from 9 to 10, and then after that I head back over home to transition to the actual mentoring session, which takes place from 11 a.m. to around 2 p.m. We had the deputy mayor of public safety of New York City, Mr. Philip Banks III, who is a good friend of myself and several other members of the organization that I work for, United Black Men of Queens, who's now in a high-ranking position, working with the mayor, Eric Adams, on everything to do with public safety. It's a newly formed position. This position never existed before. So he's in a new position himself, but he is well prepared for the job. He was the former chief of police, which is like the high-ranking officer in charge of all the other officers as chief of police for the NYPD. So he has a lot of experience working for the city and civil service, and we definitely appreciate his words of encouragement to our young men as they matriculate throughout their life and look forward to going to college or vocational school or whatever route they choose to go into. We want to make sure that we bring our young men, especially those in front of men who are doing exceptionary work, who are excelling, who have shown discipline, and who have shown maturity and shown, I would say also the biggest word is the biggest thing for me is like resiliency throughout their life. And as storytelling goes, people sometimes learn different ways. Sometimes storytelling is a way that people learn about other people's experiences, and they can live through that or pick up a lesson from that. So that's the reason why we bring people from our network. And he's an HBCU grad. He graduated from Lincoln as well, class of '81. And
can't forget that. Can't forget that.
Can't forget that as well. So we had to bring him in for that. And also good news to report, since we're all talking about HBCUs. Shout out to the Lady Lions of Lincoln University, PA women's basketball team. Today they won the CIAA National Championship. Today they beat what's that school called? I think it was Elizabeth City. They beat Elizabeth City. So shout out to the Lady Lions. Which is great news for our university. We've been going through some very tough times as of late in the media and the press. Several incidents have occurred. So this was definitely something celebratory, something good to come out of the last few weeks. So definitely shout out to the Lady Lions. Go Lions. That's my funny joke. What is this?
Yeah, congratulations, Aki. Let's rock and roll.
Okay, so we have. Okay, go ahead, man. So tonight we have a awesome. Speaking of HBCUs, we have a awesome lineup for you all today. We are talking about HBCUs. We are talking about Muslim student associations. We are talking about the experience of being part of a Muslim student association, this being Muslim on campus. So we have several returning special guests who've been on this platform before, and a new guest who has not been on this platform before. So we have Sister Ayana Jama from MSA National. Can we bring her on the screen? And we also have Sister Fajr DeLane from Howard University alumna, and Sister Safiyyah Baldwin from North Carolina A&T MSA as well, another alumna. So assalamu alaikum, sisters.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Walaikum assalam. Thanks for having us.
All right. It's good to see everyone.
Aki, I think we should salam out and let the sisters run this, man. You about to have it, bro.
Well, no. Bilal got a bunch of Jews to share, so I don't be he's trying to get out of the conversation. That's all right.
I'm not trying to exit the conversation. Dean has to go, but inshallah, we will have a great conversation tonight. But I think for starters, we want to begin with just, again, we give an introduction. We want to give an overview of where we're at now. So we have Sister Ayana Jama here from MSA National. We're going to allow her to go first, introduce herself. And also, she fell off. Did she fall off?
No,
I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Someone just popped on the screen. Sorry.
Was me.
Okay, my bad. Ayana Jama, if you'd like to go first, introduce yourself, a little bit about yourself, and tell us a little bit more about the MSA National.
Thank you. I'm Ayana Jama. I am currently a MSA National Board of Directors member. On work-wise, I am the acting manager for diversity inclusion at a state college out in California. And yeah, I'm glad to be here. Really excited and looking forward to this conversation. My work with MSA started in college. I love the work of MSAs and really creating student organizations in general. As I just said, I'm in student affairs. So professionally, I'm in student affairs, and on the side, volunteer my time with organizations such as MSA National to continue doing the work supporting Muslim students. So this topic and this conversation is near and dear in my heart.
Thank you. Sister Fajr, assalamu alaikum, please.
Walaikum assalam. Yes, assalamu alaikum, everybody. It's Sister Fajr. I went to Howard University, class of 2020, and really exciting. Thank you guys so much for having me back on the show. Alhamdulillah, I just met Brother Bilal, was it Thursday? Yeah, Thursday in person at this event, HBCU Night in New York, Brooklyn. So it's really great to finally meet you in person.
Yes.
Always appreciate all your support. so grateful. So yes, I have been part of the HU MSA since I've been at Howard. Like I said, I recently graduated, but one great thing that I participated that was pretty big at the MSA was HU Hijab Fest. I was, on that staff to initiate creating that for the first year, where we had Ibtihaj Muhammad, Halima Aiden, and Ayana to come to our campus. Well, we went to a local hotel, but that was really great. But the MSA is really near and dear to my heart. My parents also went to Howard, and they were part of the HU MSA. So I always felt like, I had to get involved, and, they've always supported me along my journey. So I definitely feel like it was a nice home space on campus for me, for sure. And I think that I'm also still really connected to the people in my HU MSA, even though I graduated. So I'm happy to be here and be part of the conversation.
Thank you. We're happy to have you back, and happy to meet you in person. That was great. Alhamdulillah. Sister Safiyyah.
Assalamu alaikum. So my MSA journey started at Elizabeth City State University, and I transferred to North Carolina A&T. And at North Carolina A&T, I got involved with the HBCU MSA and went to my first conference and had an amazing time before I graduated, and continued working with them after graduation.
Excellent. What do you do, Sister Safiyyah? And Sister Fajr, you didn't say what y'all do.
We didn't.
No, yeah, I didn't say what y'all do.
Sister Fajr, go ahead.
Okay, I'm in a transition. So the last time I was out, like on the show, I was working in New York at Bloomberg. So I'm no longer doing that. I'm back in Georgia, but currently I'm applying to grad school. So I have a scholarship. So alhamdulillah, just trying to fulfill that scholarship. So, back in Georgia applying. So inshallah I get in somewhere, but I'm also just working part-time locally at a local store while I'm waiting for the application process to go through.
Alhamdulillah, inshallah, that will happen, inshallah. Our prayer will keep you and do us. And now, Sister Safiyyah, what do you do?
So I'm in transition as well. I have an app for Muslim creative professionals called Freelance Fisabilillah. So I'm taking some time to revamp some things, inshallah, to present it at a later date, God willing, as well as possibly going back to teaching. Possibly going back to teaching. I was teaching at an Islamic school here locally. So inshallah, I'm going to make the best decision for me, and I miss the kids. So that's probably in the works.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. So we have a all-star lineup here amongst us. Everyone here is doing excellent work, exemplary work. So we definitely appreciate that. So shifting gears here, we want to cover a little bit of some story timing. We know how the importance of telling a story, and for the audience, those who are listening, those who are not aware. Sister Ayana, can you tell us a little bit about what is MSA National, and a little history about, just a brief snapshot for those who may not be familiar with MSA National as an organization?
Yeah, so as many folks probably on here know, MSAs just stand for Muslim Student Associations, and MSA National is a national organization that provides resources and programs to MSAs across campuses, both in the U.S. and in Canada. So kind of a little bit of more history about MSA National. It started 1963 in Urbana-Champaign, and I think originally in MSA National, in the way that it started, I think although the mission continued, I think the journey and the experience really with time has changed. And the reason why I say this is because the needs of students over time change. And with MSA National, starting back when, being one of the oldest Muslim organizations in the country, I think it originally started with students wanting a prayer space on campus and getting together. And a lot of those at that time, a lot of the students were international students, or students that came here for, wanting to find a community. They recently came to the country. They wanted to find a community here, and that's sort of like the history. But I think in MSA National, we see the shift around, in 1990s, where there's a lot of you're getting students that are, American born and raised, or more American race, that are now really the funding of where, or funding and organizational structure changes a little bit, right? Because now MSA folks that are really spearheading MSAs are folks that are from this country. And I think that and then, myself, I'm, the institutional memory and institutional history, I think, I forgot to put this disclaimer in the beginning, is that I don't have, I'm not an expert in, this really, old, huge organization's history, and only speaking from my understanding, and, I know that there are folks that are far more well-versed in the history, and also could be, forgive me if I'm getting any of the details, wrong, but I think the MSA National, at its core, is supposed to provide a spiritual and social support for Muslim students on campus, right? A lot of student organizations have cultural student organizations. We have Greek Life, and you have all these academic organization, or academic student orgs, and so on. But MSA National, or sorry, not just MSA National, MSAs, in the way they're structured, they're supposed to support not just the social aspect, but not just the spiritual aspect, but that social aspect for Muslim students that are, also coming from various cultural backgrounds, right? Because Muslims are not monolithic, and they're, we have so many different cultures, but you have folks, that have, their main, identity that unites them is their being a Muslim, a student at the same institution at the same time. And I think that's so important, that a lot of students who are seeking this space to really to find community, they may be already part of different, student organizations. One can be part of, their ethnic or race, or whatever it may be, cultural, or even different, student orgs on campus. But I think the Muslim student orgs really do provide an essential support that is really, really needed, and should be supported both by the institution and the local community, right? So I think that's just kind of a little bit of MSA National, and also just kind of the goals of MSA National, or MSAs, in the way it originally started, right? And then sort of like it really duplicated on different universities, and now high schools, and so on, right? So.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with us, the story of MSA National and how it ties into MSAs in general. And so as we're having this conversation, it's important for us to make note that, the MSA National organization sort of represents all of the institutions, and so in that are institutions that are what we would call PWIs, or predominantly white institutions, however we want to characterize those. And then we have HBCUs. And so I know that Imam Bilal has a lot of experience in terms of the HBCU side of things. And so I wanted him to give a little background on HBCUs and MSAs. I know he has a personal experience with that. And so if you can sort of just give us the HBCU MSA story, as we just got the national MSA sort of general, give us a little bit about the HBCU MSA story.
Oh, yes. Bismillah. The HBCU MSA story is a very unique, also a very unique story, very interesting story. Our people is very unique. We're very unique people. So our story is very, very unique, and our circumstances always also very unique. It would be remiss in not saying that the HBCU experience and the Muslim student experience is a very interesting hodgepodge. It's like you're going to HBCU and now you're also a Muslim at HBCU. So like that is in itself, we will get to that probably a little later, but that in itself is very, very interesting because at HBCUs, these are predominantly, they were founded predominantly by the Black church or Black churches, some of the major Black churches that we've had. So a lot of people have, well, not a lot of people, but there is this notion that, you know, majority of these campuses are Christian based. So a lot of religious institutions are chapels on campus that have been on campus for years, i.e. Lincoln's Chapel has been there for a while, and actually the Underground Railroad passes through underneath the chapel. There was a way that slaves coming from the south to the north would go through that part of Pennsylvania to get to the north. So these chapels has been here for years. These places of worship have been here for years. So just put that in context that being Muslim and also being an HBCU is like, wow, it's like a big experience for sure. So I was MSA president for Lincoln University for 2 years. Actually started back the MSA after it was kind of debunked or went dead, or however you want to describe it. It just went silent after what they call after several other of my peers from the earlier years, way back before I even came to Lincoln, reestablished the MSA and secured a prayer space for us that we still have to this day on campus. A bigger prayer space actually on campus to accommodate the overflow of so many Muslim students who were enrolling at the time. So when I got there was no MSA. So there was no documentation of an MSA from Student Life and Development. So I really had to start almost from scratch, you know, with some help from some of the I won't say they're elders, but they're a little older than me now, brothers and sisters who were part of the Muslim Student Association before I. So I really had to get a constitution going. I had to get officers, you know, the whole shindig. You know, we've been through that whole thing, right? So skipping along, after I graduated from that experience, I still wanted to keep, you know, good ties with my university, as I joined the Alumni Association here in New York, but also wanted to continue my experience as a Muslim on campus as well. I was called upon by several brothers I know from Cheyney University, which is a neighboring HBCU in Pennsylvania. Brothers had asked me if I wanted to help them with this idea about formulating this coalition, this HBCU MSA Coalition. This was in like 2015 or so. And I said, yeah, no problem, sure. I said, what's the premise? The premise would be to address our concerns, address the student concerns at these HBCU MSAs, because we saw that there was a gap. There was some gaps in resources for our HBCU MSAs on a university level, but also coming from, we didn't really have a connection with MSA National at the time. We really didn't have one. Not many schools had one. Even when I went to the website at the time, there weren't many HBCUs on there except for Howard, for example, was the only HBCU on there. So we didn't really have that connection, and we didn't really have that much of a good connection with the university, except for maybe a few professors here and there. So we was able to still get things done. But again, the struggle of not having certain resources and certain faculty member support and administration support is an ongoing struggle, I think, for HBCU MSAs across the country. So we decided, like, we need to formulate a coalition. We need to bring all together all the HBCU MSAs, and we need to have some sort of conference, a working conference that we can plan and we can gather people to come, gather students to come. And alhamdulillah, we did do that successfully. We had our first conference actually at the Philadelphia Masjid in West Philly. It was a small gathering. Howard, Lincoln, Cheney, Morgan State, Delaware State. So we had a good showing. It was a small group of students that came out, and it actually grew from there. It actually blossomed. I didn't see that happening for whatever reason. I didn't see it happen to where it went, because we went from having a space inside the masjid, and then all of a sudden having a bigger space on the campus of Howard University. So where we had our last few conferences at Howard University, where we invited speakers and presentations from various scholars and those to talk about also Islamic issues, but also issues to do with the MSA, which we had like a time where we did a SWOT analysis. All the MSAs got together in their groups and did the whole SWOT analysis thing like we do at our jobs or in our particular project management places. And we came up with everyone presented and came up with what were their strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats, and couldn't help but see that there were a lot of similarities between our situation from, you might be in North Carolina A&T, but it might be the same up in Morgan, or maybe say down in Bethune-Cookman, or maybe sitting down in the AUC down in Atlanta. So it's like it was the same kind of trending themes that popped up. So alhamdulillah, that's the overview of the coalition and where it's at. And I mean, it grew exponentially to other schools joining and other schools starting chapters or becoming active again after they were struggling to become active. So alhamdulillah, we were able to mobilize the HBCU Muslim student population, but also we were able to mobilize the Muslim African-American community to support us every year. I can't stress that enough. To put on a conference, you have to have money, so we were thankful for the community, thankful for our host, Howard University, Dr. Nisa Muhammad, who was really instrumental in helping us secure some sponsorships, but also to the individual members of the African-American Muslim community who poured in donations as well for us to successfully have those conferences, and to have people like Safiyyah and her brother drive up all the way from North Carolina to actually be with us and have housing for them.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for giving us that, Bilal. As I hear you all talk about MSAs and that experience on a college campus, it's important to me because I have a daughter who is graduating high school this year and will be a freshman at Howard University in September as a HU Achiever Scholar. So I'm concerned about her being on campus and obviously maintaining her connection to Islam and having a space that supports that. I know at Howard, the good thing in terms of its location is that it's not very far from Masjid Muhammad there in DC. So that's a benefit for her. But I kind of want to just do a round robin, right? And I'll start with Safiyyah. I love her smile. She always got the fire Kimars too. But I want to talk about the importance of having a Muslim Student Association on campus. You're leaving home for the first time. You're going into you're going into college and you're going to explore life and new things and meet new people. And specifically for the HBCU experience, I went to Howard, right? So I wasn't Muslim at the time, but it's lit on campus, right? And so being Muslim and being in that environment, that's not my experience, but I kind of want to know from you all's experience the importance of having that Muslim Student Association on campus.
It was on my heart since freshman year. And you know how you tell your friends, hey, I want to do such and such, and they listen to you, they hear you, and it's like, okay. And some people will encourage you and other people like, yeah, but they don't expect you to do it, like follow through. So it was on my heart since freshman year because I was more than like 5 hours away from home. I didn't have a car. And, you know, you have that 5-star foundation. And in addition to that, we were just ending Ramadan. Like I didn't get to celebrate Eid with my family. I went to band camp. So I'm there like a few weeks early. You're not celebrating what we just accomplished in terms of like fasting for 29, 30 days. And in addition to that, on Fridays, you're not going to Jummah prayer. So I prayed for what I prayed for. I was ready to go to college. I'm in the marching band. I'm doing what I love. I'm around my peers. I'm performing, but my soul was on E. And it was on E for a few weeks and it just kept on adding on, adding on, adding on. And so I'm in the middle of a performance doing our dance and just something in my mind is like, you're not happy here. And from that point forward, you're trying to get to a point like, what do I need to do to change that and to find satisfaction in my soul? And so you take the steps to create MSA on campus, and you just feel like there's some other Muslims on this campus. So this is at Elizabeth City. And so with things with Elizabeth City, it came together more so with people who were not Muslim. There were a few Muslims that came, but honestly, it was more so like the poetry club supported, other people who were just like cool with me supported, and we were really creative. There was maybe like 2 brothers that could lead the prayer. Like one brother, his father's Muslim, and he could go through the motions, but he didn't know the Arabic. This brother gets on YouTube, and he's leading us in Salat, going through the motions, but just not knowing the Arabic. So we got really creative, and I know I have support at home, but you don't want your family to come all the way up here for like 3 people for Jummah prayer. So we did what we had to do, and we got creative, and it was cool. We had great discussions and things like that. So at Elizabeth City, it was like stepping into becoming a believer. At A&T, it was like, this is round 2 on a bigger scale, and there's more people that actually want it, and there's so many masjids in Greensboro. There's a masjid like 5 minutes from campus. You can go to Walmart and you can pray and you can get back on that shuttle and make it back to campus. So at A&T, I'm in the marching band. I did marching band in both locations. I'm in the marching band at A&T, enjoying my time there. And it's like, wait a minute, we don't have a prayer room. And it goes back to how you're feeling at Elizabeth City. We don't have a prayer room. We don't have a prayer space. I don't have any Muslim friends was the main thing. And I wanted some. So my brother goes to A&T, but the band schedule, you don't get to see each other. Like I give him a hug and I'm running to practice. Like we don't get to pray at all together, pray together. And he's in one building and I'm in the building right beside him and we're not like regularly praying together and that's bothering me. So again, just going back to your soul is like, you're not fully satisfied. So I reached out to a brother on campus for a project as well as for MSA. You can find anybody on Facebook. So you can go to student activities and see whether or not your campus has an MSA. And they'll give you the name of whoever is connected to it, whether it's active or not. So I found his name, looked him up on Facebook, reached out to him. I'm about to knock out 2 stones in one. I'm going to do this project that's due, and I'm going to see what's the status of this MSA. He later forwards me to my Muslima sister friend, and she encourages him to, you know, take it to the next level and have the MSA on campus. He's a non-traditional student, and, you know, he doesn't live on campus. He's like in his late 20s. It's like, this is important, but like you have a life offside of campus. So a semester or so, some time passes and nothing's happening. And I reach out to her and I'm like, what's going on? And she just lets me know what's happening and what's not happening. And I mentioned to her, I don't mind stepping up for this role. The biggest thing with A&T's MSA was the paperwork, getting the paperwork through. Because if this isn't right, like you're not going to be an official organization on campus. You can still do stuff unofficially, but you're not officially. You can't have an email blast to everybody on campus and post it like we're going to meet over here. It's like, wait, y'all not legit yet. Sit down. So when we finally became a legitimate organization, it's like we're about to market everywhere. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a double portion of his mercy. and really just protected us, because certain things I wanted to do junior year and they couldn't happen. The climate, there was 3 Muslims who were murdered, may Allah be pleased with them, in a school in North Carolina, a PWI. And it just really wasn't the climate for us to do what we want to do on our campus. And so the following year is when we were official organization, my senior year, and we got 2 prayer spaces. Now, getting off campus was a blessing, because it's a live campus. There's always something going on, and we just really need to get off campus. So we would have like what day did we go? Maybe it might have been Monday, could have been Wednesday, but we would get off campus, go to the masjid, and then the imam, he's an Aggie alumni too, you know, so he was very supportive, and he later got married. His wife, very supportive of our efforts. And we have supported my family, have supported our local community, and it was just a blessing. So we had a lot of amazing events. Jesus in Islam, World Hijab Day. We had like a campus video talk back and just different things. We got together when we finally got our e-board together. And I'm just giving this is not in chronological order at all. We got the e-board together and we met at a restaurant on our campus. And we made a list of everything you want to see in terms of MSA. And then you just group it in spring semester or fall semester and make it happen. Whatever doesn't happen, somebody after me can handle it. But yeah, it was a blessing, a challenge. And may Allah bless whoever's going to take on that role for everybody else's institutions, because it's a lot, but it's a reward that's unimaginable. And it was a blessing to get involved with HBCU MSA Coalition, because at that time, our spirit was on E. Like, I just need to graduate. But we went to the conference and had an amazing time, and just knew that the challenges we were facing, other institutions are facing the same exact challenge. Like, we got the same problems, we got the same blessings. And so that was good. And, you know, that kind of stuff carries over. It carries over to the next year. And yeah, I pray that HBC Coalition comes back and starts to do the things that they were doing when we were there, like post-COVID. Not right now, but, you know, inshallah.
Fajr, how would you describe your experience being on HBCU campus in the MSA? How important was it to have that for you, and how important in general is it?
Well, I just want to say thank you to the sister for sharing your experience, and I'm really proud of you. Like, that's really amazing. Yeah, so at Howard's campus, it definitely, I really hyped it up more than what it was, because my parents, they had a very, very successful, lit, amazing MSA, and it was also to the climate. It was a lot of social things going on. It was around the 90s or something, so everybody was like very strong, you know, they didn't play no games, like they were like real, you know, solid Muslims on campus. But when I kind of got there, you know, some of those parents' legacies was there, but the kids, they weren't really identifying themselves as Muslims. And it's like that one thing of just our generation too that we deal with, I think, with this generation, is that we have a lot of Muslims, but how do we still stay unified? And I just feel like, you know, it was just a lot of different things where, you know, certain people, you don't know they're Muslim, but it's okay. You know what I'm saying? But with that though, it's like, you know, we're, you know, trying to make everybody feel like, you know, still welcome. I know some people who necessarily didn't look or dress necessarily Islamically sometimes felt outcasted. That was some of the, you know, I know challenges we had within the MSA, that I even have friends, even when I did the hijab fest, who were amazing models at the time too for that. But, you know, I know certain people who felt like, oh, why people are judging me because I don't look a certain way, whatever. But then you have people who do look a certain way, and, you know, just different aspects of it. But I think for me, I try to, you know, drive the ship. My parents were very, very active in their college experience. One of the things, my dad, though, he just kind of overextended himself. He was doing Master Muhammad right around the corner and doing Howard, and just what lacked was his school, and that suffered. So I made sure that, hey, I have a significant, opportunity. I'm here for school. And yes, Allah is a very, very important part of me. And I do want community. At the same time, I try to see if something was like really bearing my time, like I had to release that and focus on why I was there. Right. So, alhamdulillah, for me, I've always kind of been in spaces where, it's not as a lot of Muslims around me, except for my childhood. I used to live in Southeast Asia for 7.5 years, and it was a Muslim country. So we had a lot of like Muslims around, but they weren't necessarily African American, but they were part of the Muslim community. But, me living in Georgia, the town I'm in, it's a college town. It's not really a lot of Muslims. So I've kind of always had, mashallah, a close relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may Allah continue to grow that. But so I do like community, but for me too, it's like, I also know how to still stick and move, even if it's not a community. So that's one of the things I knew that I wanted to make an impact and give some of my time and due diligence sometime at Howard. So what I did, I was like, I'm doing this HU Hijab Fest. I'm doing 1 year, putting it all, and I going to make my impact. And then if I want to cruise through the next 3 years of college, I can do that. So that was one of the things my parents told me. They were like, all right, just do at least one thing. I would want, before you leave Howard, do one thing for your MSA, and we'll be good. We won't even say nothing. Like, you can do whatever you want after. So I was like, all right, this is the year I'm going to do it. So I decided, that's when, had the HU Hijab Fest came up, had the community, and everything ended up working out. It was really successful. But after that, subhanAllah, a lot of people still wanted to do it more, and other people kind of took it on and over. But I was, really busy with my schooling. I was transferring from a different major, my grades, trying to keep my scholarship. So, I was definitely always involved, and I'm a Howard baby, Muslim baby, that like I'm always kind of involved, but I couldn't go to everything. I couldn't participate in everything just because of my schedule and what I had to take care of. So yeah, it's bittersweet. I definitely, like I said, have that support, and I'm glad I had the support. I'm glad I was able to do something. But at the same time, also for me, I was very kind of stressed with my schoolwork, that I kind of was, in to pray. If Juma was in, I'm there for Juma, but that excessive planning and stuff, in my latter years, I was on a very school tight schedule that I really wasn't as involved in a lot of it necessarily. So my earlier years, when I was kind of an undecided student, I had more time. I went to the Chicago event. We had like a national Muslim event somewhere and stuff like that. And then I was really involved because it was like less schoolwork. But as the time came on with my years, it kind of got more intense. So I was still involved, but I also knew that it was a lot for me too, that I will peek in here and there. But to everybody is different, but I'm still glad I've always had that Muslim community at Howard some way in shape or form, and it definitely did grow. And Sister Nisa has really been amazing, and we had a great relationship with the chapel person at Howard, and they had a really great relationship. So he would invite us. I remember he invited the MSA to his house, and he was very respectful to our Muslim community. So I'm glad, at least for that aspect at Howard, I got to feel respected, at least by him. But, Brother Bilal made a good point where a lot of HBCUs are like, more Christian based and stuff. So like, you being Muslim, you really do stick out, even though you're a Black person. Muslim is like a little different. So I always remember, even my classmates, I'm like, hey, I'm that Muslim girl in your class, or was in your class. And they're like, I remember you, because like, so it was really cool. But I'm happy and I'm proud to be a Muslim, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. But I just definitely feel like it's always a complex thing. And also too, I know when I first went into Howard, one of the big conversations we were having was, the Black Muslims feeling like, how was the Black Muslims feeling to maybe the international Muslims, or the people who weren't necessarily from here? And that was a big ride we talked about, because we were saying like, not feeling as involved, or like we didn't know what we were doing, that type of thing. Stuff like that, of just feeling like that discrimination. So I know from my presidency, I had Eric, he was we were definitely having those conversations, and we were leading in those conversations of, even I think we had an HBCU MSA conference. I don't know, Brother Bilal, if that's what you were talking about in the beginning, but you know, just having that of just saying like, we are worthy, we know what we're talking about, we have leadership, and, you know, just kind of making our platform, because we definitely saw that discrimination, you know. So we were happy to like recognize that, talk about it, because it's still in our community, but we have to have definitely more conversations. And I think at Howard, it was a safe space and a great place to do it, because we know we can, you know, fight for our rights and speak up with what's real and the things that are going good and the things that aren't really going good, even within our Muslim community.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Fajr. You know, you made some really important points. One of them being that balance, right? Balance is important to maintain. You're at school, you want to be involved as much as you can, but you know, the fact of the matter is you are at school, you're there to maintain your grades, to be successful, you know, and to graduate. And so I was glad that you brought up the point about maintaining balance, because that is a real thing. But then your latter point about this divide between the Black Muslims versus the international Muslims and what that experience is like is also something important to mention. And so, you know, I'm glad you said that. And later in the conversation, we'll talk a little bit more about some good initiatives that we are planning to collaborate with the National MSA. I'm not sure if I broke up on your end. Did I break up on your end?
Yeah, you broke up.
Oh yeah, something was going on with my Wi-Fi. But I was just saying that there is some great work that we're looking to initiate with the National MSA in respect to some of that divide that Fajr just spoke to us about, and so I'm excited for that. So I'll jump to Ayana, if you can just sort of address the importance of having the MSA on campus, anything in relation to your personal experience with it, any highlights that you want to share or strengths about the MSA in general.
Yeah, I just want to say, Safiyyah and Fajr, thank you for sharing your experiences. Like, out in California, we're not as blessed to have HBCUs. We have only one, and it's actually a graduate. Actually, it's mostly graduate program. I think they do have some undergrad majors, but only one. So you mainly have either PWI, or if you're lucky, you'll have like HSI or MSI, or, you know, institutions that have like, you know, the NFX designations, or I should identify those. So NFPCs are typically Asian American, Pacific Islander, and they're Asian American, Pacific Islander, Native American serving institutions, and then HSI are Hispanic serving institutions, and those are different designations. And MSI are minority serving institutions. So those are different institutional designations that exist. Of course, they're not as historic as HBCUs, and they're just they're more of a designation than being specifically, you know, not in the model, you know, as HBCUs. But that, for undergrad, I went to I think at later years, I can't remember if I was there, if they got this designation while I was there. It's currently an HSI, Hispanic Serving Institution. But I think at the time when I was going there, it was definitely, it's, you know, regardless of, it is a PWI, right? So for me, I actually went to community college first, and I was working 2 jobs, had no, I had no time to get involved, similar to what Vetri said. I had no time to get involved with anything. I was classes and then working there. I worked in my local city, Parks and Recs, and I also worked at a store. So I was, you know, doing all of this. And then when I transferred to a 4-year, I transferred to University of California, Irvine. I really was like, I want to get involved. So I decided that year, my junior year, that I got when I transferred, I decided to quit one of my jobs. Actually, one of them I quit, and then I decided to take on a job that's closer to campus. And then the other one, I was like, I'm only going to work in the summer, so give me time off when I'm, during the school year. So, and I got involved with student government. I got involved with MSA. And for me, I think our MSA, I think I was the only, my junior year, I was the only Black women in there and one of 3 Black people in the MSA at that time. So I think I took on the mindset that regardless of all the experiences I would get as comments I would hear, for example, prayer spaces and like language that's used that are not inclusive. I'm like, I am going to utilize this space because I belong in this space as much as everyone else here. So I think, alhamdulillah, similar to what Fajr said, I think for me, I was like, when I was, before I transfer, I was doing my thing. And regardless of, the MSA, alhamdulillah, I was able to, weird to say, be a Muslim. But I think if I didn't have that strength, like if I didn't have that foundation, early on, I think it would have been harder. I think it would have been really, really easy for me to be like, no, I don't want to be here. And I'm going to, just not be involved with the MSA. But I think for me, I really just pushed on my senior year. I found 2 other Black women like on campus, and I was like, come join the MSA, let me recruit you. So by my senior year, there was 3 of us, 5 of us, the 2 brothers and the 3 sisters. So 5 of us. And I think I had a really good experience. And I think for me, I also really utilized the other student organizations I was part of on campus. That we had a cultural center, like a cross-cultural center, where all of the student cultural identifying student orgs, including MSAs, right, even though we're not a cultural student org, we're part of. And I think that really helped. And I was involved in like a lot of my institution, there was a strong student activism happening. So I think that was really a really good way for students to feel connected. And in my senior year, I was able to work with few students and really start a few initiatives on campus that continue on to grow. And we're able to advocate and put together food pantry on campus. And it was really cool to get involved in that. And I think for me, we actually, before I'm also going not going chronological, but one of the things that my senior year, we got an opportunity to apply for a grant. And I don't know if folks are familiar with, but MSA West is a regional, so MSA National exists at a national level, but there's also different regional councils like MSA West, that's located in the West Coast. There's Lone Star Council. There's Midwest, it's called MUSA, and HBCU MSA. So different councils, whether or not they're under MSA National. So MSA West is very, very strong and very active in the West Coast. So we put together they put a grant application together. And at the time in my MSA, I was leading the humanitarian. I was co-leading the humanitarian initiatives, and we put together the grant. We applied, and we got out of all these universities, we got the grant. So we got this money to do something humanitarian related. And then at the same time, I found out this is why I always, even institutions that have really, really strong MSAs, I really highly encourage folks to get involved, other student clubs as well. Because I had relationships with other student orgs, I found out 2 of my friends from other clubs were also got a funding from I think it was the president's, it was a green initiative by our California university system. So we're like, hey, instead of doing 2 different initiatives, let's put together. and let's work together. So my goal was really working to make sure that MSAs, because I feel like MSAs, because they were part of this cultural space and they're not a cultural club, there's a lot of folks don't, and I would say with MSAs, a lot of times people keep it to themselves, right? So I was like, no, we're like any other student organization, we're part of the community. So I was like, let's be part of this. So I'm so grateful that we were able to, combine the funds and convince our campus with research and advocating and all of that we need a food pantry on campus, and we're able to put that together. So that was a really, really great experience. And this is one of the reasons why I'm in higher education right now, because, after graduating, I was like, well, what do I want to do? And I had all these different things I wanted to do. And I, went to grad school, just studying, higher education administration, student affairs, just to, work with colleges and universities. And I think what Safiyyah had just mentioned, I think that experience that you had, honestly, I work with a lot of student orgs right now, MSAs or not, and a lot of times they're like, especially right now with the pandemic, we're struggling. They're like, we're struggling with retention and all of that. And what you did to keep trying, that is so important. And that is such I feel like not many students will do that. They're like, oh, there's no MSAs. And they're just may try a little bit, but like you having to continuously wanting the MSA space in these different spaces, I think that is so important. And I think that the work MSA National is trying to do is to create strong MSAs or support MSAs to become strong MSAs in college campuses. So Muslim students, when they apply to colleges and universities, what kind of MSA that they have is a factor for them. So not just academics, but what kind of MSA they have. Because I know that for us in California, actually, a lot of students do consider when they're going into universities, they're like, what kind of MSA do we have? Because a lot of universities will do college days. So they would they'll organize a college day for MSAs that are, high school students that are considering the university, and to see what kind of MSAs exist. So I think that should be a factor, right? Not just academic, but social life, right? Because I know that, and this is, the student affairs side of me coming, student involvement on campus is a huge factor. There's this, circle that exists of kind of on student development, and student clubs have a huge factor on student success, student retention in college. So I think that it's, even if they have, studies have shown that students that are involved on campus are part of student organizations tend to stay on, tend to have a higher graduation rate. But there's the other side, right, where a lot of Black Muslim students are not finding that connection in the MSAs. As you may know, there's the phenomenon of Black in MSA that came out, and that experience and the story still exists. So part of our conversations and initiatives that Sister Marsha just alluded to is that how can we make sure that Black Muslims are having having a good experience in their MSAs, whether they're going, especially when they're not going to HBCU, right? So I think that's just kind of, I'll leave it at that. I know it's a little long-winded, but just wanted to share that. But thank you for sharing your stories. I think that was related to parts of it for both of you.
Yeah, and I appreciate you for sharing what you share, Ayana. And then I'm going to kick it to Imam Bilal to talk about the importance of MSAs, and then we'll talk a little bit about what the MSAs need, right? So if you can sort of do yours in two parts, Bilal, the importance of an MSA and also the needs, right? The needs and the challenges that are faced, and maybe how the general community can help, or however you want to spin that, go for it.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. So my experience at Lincoln was very rich, very interesting experience, without a doubt. I met a lot of people. I met a lot of students that I still call friends to this day, family. I think I like to preface my commentary with just this one aspect that HBCU does provide. I feel that it provides an extended family. You just never know. Like, who your roommate could very well be someone that you be friends with for the rest of your life. Like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, you guys support each other, and you call this person, you still link up with this person wherever they are across the country and different things like that. I think one of the most important experiences I'd like to touch upon is when I got there in 2014. It was still Ramadan. Ramadan was coming in around that August, September time frame. So we caught like a little bit of Ramadan before it went out, if you would, right? So we caught some days of Ramadan campus actually fasting. So I did some fasting at home with my family, and then I did fasting when I got to the yard. And one of the things that I always remember is one of the brothers who from Philly, he donated his fridge, like his room refrigerator to us. Muslim brother donated because he was going to get a new one. He was like, "Yo, just take mine." We had a refrigerator, so now we have a refrigerator in the musalla in the prayer space, right? Now we just need food. Right? So at this point, I go downstairs. I have to shout out Miss Sissy. Miss Sissy at Lincoln is one of the longest standing workers at Lincoln University. She's been working there for over 60 years. She knows basically almost every graduating class that has come about. Like, it's that crazy. Like, she lives in around the campus. Very nice, kind-hearted woman. And this is just a testimony again to that HBCU family aspect. I went to her and I said, "Well, Miss Sissy, it is Ramadan, and we want to." Is this cake on the screen? Who put cake on the screen?
Good too. Like, who?
Yeah.
How did
I'm
that come
not
on
sure who popped in the cake. That might be Mujahideen in the background.
That might be the guy behind the scenes.
Yes.
What are you doing back there, Matt?
Exactly.
It's like, no. But let me. Yeah. So when it came down to fasting, I told her we were fasting, and we can't eat during the day, and the cafeteria closes before iftar. So she was like, "Yeah, no problem. Here's some to-go plates. Y'all can come down the cafeteria, fill up your to-go plates, and take it upstairs. Do whatever you want." So we, the Muslims, we went, got our to-go plates, and put some food in our, stacked the food in the go plates, and then we went upstairs, put the food in the refrigerator, and then when it was time for iftar, we would come together. We'll break fast together with the meals that we took from downstairs, from the cafeteria. I mean, that was a very important moment for me, making my transition from home to actually be on campus. Another aspect was establishing Jumma. That was a challenge. Not because there weren't brothers around. Well, there were brothers to do the Jumma, but ain't nobody want to step up to do the Jumma. You know what I mean? So it's like, so we didn't have it. Then there was a brother who I knew who was doing it. I did it sometimes when I had a chance. So it was like, we would do it, but when time for junior, senior year, it started to become more frequent. But like the beginning, we didn't have the Jumma aspect on campus. So, we had that a little later. So Jumma was a challenge. I would say another challenge too in my tenure there was, again, the you have to make friends. You have to make friends with some of the, not friends, but you have to really insert yourself, because again, everything was coming through the chapel. So I'm saying, like, all the resources was in the chapel and religious life. So I did make my a good impression with the reverend on campus. So highly respected because of that. Everyone knew who I was Muslim, basically. So I'm saying, and there were some situations on campus that we had to take care of that, unfortunately they got resolved. But but it takes strong resolve. You have to be patient, but you have to be assertive. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to do that, because everyone's coming from different climates and different environments. Everyone may not have that assertiveness from home. You see, because of their upbringing. See, mine was different. I was homeschooled for K to 6. I went to Claire Muhammad School from 7 to 12. And all of that was just a very small graduating class. Lincoln was just like a big, huge, like to me, 1,700 students was a lot of people. To some of you all, that might be nothing. To Howard and to North Carolina A&T, that's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. You know what I'm saying? But to me, it was a big ordeal. And trying to find Muslims on campus was difficult, especially brothers, because, if we're not wearing a throbe, we're not wearing a kufi, it's like, you don't know who's who. So the sisters is easy to point out because if they're wearing kimar, that's easy. What I'm saying? But it's like the brothers, you don't know. So with that experience was also challenging as well because there wasn't an active MSA at the time. I had to assert myself freshman year, sophomore year to get it going. Unlike what Fajr said, I was the complete opposite. I was in the MSA. I was doing a bunch of other things on campus and academics. I was the complete opposite, total opposite. What I'm saying? Because I guess that's who I was. What I'm saying? To take some type of leadership role, and I did take up a lot of responsibility because nobody wanted to do the work on the MSA board. I mean, we all can relate to this a little bit. So I'm saying you assemble a board, you put some names on a paper, you turn it in, they stamp you, get approved. The next thing you know, you have some meetings, nobody wants to show up. I'll be meeting in the prayer space by myself. So I'm saying I come to the prayer space by myself. So it's like we only did what we could do. Well, and we achieved that. I do have to say, we did achieve a poetry show on campus, which was very successful. Where we invited some Muslim poets, and some poets on the campus to deliver some poetry. We raised a lot of money that night. It was one of the most successful events on campus for us as an MSA. So I have to say that we did institute MSA Week on campus too, or Islamic Awareness Week on campus. That was, in my opinion, successful. We did have e-prayer on campus. That was successful. So we had some successes, but the challenges were the advisor too. Like each year we had a different advisor only because we have to deal with the Arabic teacher who was on a Fulbright, what they call Fulbright scholar. So they were only there for a year and that's it. They're gone. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you had to swap. You find out who's the next Fulbright Arabic teacher coming to teach Arabic. It wasn't a full-time Arabic teacher. It was all Fulbright. So we had to adjust to that. And we didn't have like a Dr. Nisa. I wish we could like take her and like copy her to all these MSAs, HBCU MSAs, because essentially that's what I think is needed to have someone like that can represent the students to the faculty and administration. Yes, I'm saying I think that's so crucial. Because sometimes as students, we can only do so much, but when you have an adult on the faculty and administration side, they can represent for the students and their interests. I think that's a very important role that an MSA advisor full-time will be able to provide. Identity. I think my last thing is identity. Like a lot of Muslims who I knew struggled with identifying themselves as Muslims, especially the brothers. I mean, I don't know if it was identity. I think it was like a lot of the brothers who I know who were loyal, they happen to have other circumstances. I'm not going to repeat it, but like these were dudes from the streets, like from Philadelphia, like Baltimore, West Baltimore, like, what I'm saying, DC, Southwest. So it's like, they had like other experiences. I didn't have those experiences. So I'm coming home basically nurtured and sheltered, for lack of a better term, and preserved. So I didn't experience that type of lifestyle. See, they did. So for them, they were still a little rough and rugged around the edges, for lack of a better term. You know what I'm saying? So, there were certain circumstances that happened again that dealt with it, but it was like, bro, like, what I'm saying, it's time for prayer, like, what I'm saying, but they were so caught up in the stuff they were doing. It was just like, but they gave respect. I'm not about to pray if I have this material on me. I'm not gonna, come into this space. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it was definitely an adjustment for me. I was never exposed to that. You know what I'm saying? I was never exposed to that. So I don't know if that's identity. It falls into identity in the social climate. You know what I'm saying? That a lot of people are coming from. But I do have to say one more thing to this point. One more thing. One of my roommates, actually 3 people who I knew from my class, graduating class, just converted recently, just became Muslims. 3 people. Actually, one of them was one of my roommates from Philly. He just took his shahada. Like, I just found out, and I'm not saying it was because of me, but I know we were roommates. I know that, you know, he took me to meet his family. Again, this is the point that drive home. HBCUs is like a family. Yes, I'm saying, like, he took me to North Philly, to Bloomberg Housing, which was one of the notorious housing projects in Philadelphia, one of the only very few housing projects in Philadelphia. You know, we sat with his family dinner and stuff like that for us and stuff like that. Really nice people, you know what I'm saying? And he was searching for something too, you know, and I think, you know, just being by a good person and, you know, being who you are, people naturally gravitate to that, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, you earn people with respect, even if, you know, they're rough around the edges, you know, you earn people's respect, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I just like to say that, you know, it was a beautiful to read that, you know, he made that decision, a conscious decision to become Muslim. Yes, I'm saying. And, you know, I have to make some trips to visit them to give some care packages to them because I know they're new shahadas, but that's a whole nother conversation too. But, you know, yeah, but my experience was definitely a very interesting one, but I would say overall it was a very good one. Very good one.
Yeah, and so as you all, you know, describe your experiences, you know, one, I want to say that I appreciate you all for sharing those experiences about being connected to a Muslim student association. Obviously, you know, going into college and going into this new phase of your life is already a challenge within itself. Connections are something that, you know, you're either searching for when you get there. I know when I went to college, it was about who was from Jersey, you know, and then, you know, it was about, you know, who grew up like me, you know. Bilal was just talking about how, you know, there were some people who were sort of rough around the edges, you know. For me, I feel like I always connected to those people because you know, I would say I grew up in the hood, right? So, you know, you always are looking for a connection when you go off to college. And for the Muslim student, we're obviously talking in this discussion about that connection being to the Muslim Student Association. I would imagine that for parents who are sending their children off to these institutions, the concern is that, you know, somehow they're gonna lose their Islam, right? And so that's the nervous side of being a parent. It's just like, well, what keeps my child connected to the deen, right? And for these institutions, the Muslim Student Association has been that connection. But we also discuss in this space how, you know, those groups within themselves have challenges in terms of, you know, this Muslim from this country versus this Muslim from this country, or my identity as a Muslim versus my identity as being Black versus my identity in terms of where I grew up and how I grew up. And so there's all of these pieces sort of, you know, floating in the space. And one of the things that Ayan said earlier is that, you know, we're not a monolithic people. You know what I'm saying? Yes, we are Muslim, but we have all of these other pieces connected to us. And it's about being able to connect and maintain all of them while being in this new experience. And so at this point in the conversation, as we sort of wind it down, what I wanted to sort of bring up is the initiative that we are working on with the National MSA, and what you all can pretty much share with Ayan being the National MSA representative as to, you know, the needs the needs of these Muslim student associations at HBCUs. One of the things that Ayana has shared with us, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago now. Well, we had met twice, but is that, you know, there is this disconnect between the Muslim student associations at an HBCU versus the national MSA connection. And so our goal is to be able to strengthen the ties between the HBCU Muslim Student Association Coalition and the national MSA. And I wanted to, and obviously Bilal can share in the conversations that we all have been having, but I wanted to sort of bring out the fact that that is something that we are working towards, to make those connections, to have the Muslim Student Association, specifically at the HBCUs, be more prominent. But HBCUs in general, Muslim Student Associations in general, right, be more of an accessible thing for Muslim students as they go into these institutions, so that they have that connection as well. And so, Ayana, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about where this came from the national MSA side of things, in terms of wanting to make that connection, and then I'll let Imam Bilal share, and then we'll go ahead and close it out.
Yeah, thank you, Sister Marsha. I think one of my teachers have once said, one is doing disservice to, I forgot. I'm going to paraphrase the quote, but one is doing disservice to Muslim history if they're not learning about Black history, right? And Black Muslim history, right? Because I think we know, like, studies show that there are more Black Muslims than any other Muslims in this country, and Black Muslims are the first Muslims here in this country, and so on. So I think there's this disconnect in terms of, or I guess not guess, there is this, always, anytime I speak to, or anytime that, conversation comes around, like the experience of, especially when it comes to PWI institutions, Black Muslims are being further marginalized in Muslim spaces. And this is not just specific to MSAs, right? This is happening in the, in the masajids and the communities and so on. So that stuff carries over. So I think that as an organization, I think one of the things that that we've been wanting to do is that making sure that Black Muslims student experiences are, they're not continuing to experiencing the disparities, right? So one of the things that, for me, and this is even outside of MSA National, for me, when I do, which I do for MSAs, trainings for, inclusivity and anti-racism, is that one of the things I always ask is that, who are your speakers? Whose food are you ordering, right? What language are you using in your MSA spaces, right? And this is non-Black majority MSA spaces, right? So I think that we need to really move, and this conversation of the experience of Black Muslims in the MSAs has been on persisting, and we haven't really, come to a solution. And I think that it's also reflection of, like, the greater society too, right? Racism is still well alive. Black, not just Black Muslims, Black students every day are, telling me how they experience in their classrooms and, in the student organizations and in their on-campus work. And then when you really take even a smaller community, that same issues exist, right? It's the same issues that exist in the greater community for Blacks in nationally and in this, globally and in this country, continue to exist for MSA, Black Muslims in the MSAs as well. So we gotta continue to really create a solution, right? I know that some of the things that we're putting together for MSA National is really creating I actually just finalized an anti-racism training, and that training is specifically for MSA officers to make sure that the officers of MSAs are trained, have this curriculum, so that they are aware of this, because what are they learning in the things that they're learning in high school is very, Eurocentric, very anti-Black curriculum and experience. And I think college it's a perfect place for a lot of folks to really discover, wow, I've really been taught, excuse my language, but crap, like all this time. And so I think colleges and any student orgs that support and students really have a really a great opportunity to do something to really shift ideologies, minds, to support for us to really move forward as a society and really create an anti-racist rooted society, right? And we gotta really focus on. There's a lot of work that's being done at a larger scale, and but we got to also start with our communities, right? Our Muslim communities, right? There's a lot of great people. There's a lot of great organizations and folks that are doing that work in nonprofit organizations, Muslim nonprofit organizations, and masajids. But MSAs, I think we need to also really start that with the MSAs as well, because especially folks are not really being challenged. They're really coming into high school thinking that this is the world. This world that they have experienced is the norm, and then if they're not challenged or shown differently in college, then they'll continue on to the society and the way that we are now. So I think that's just all I can say. What I can add, we're always open to new feedback and new perspectives. So let us know if you folks listening, and for example, if solutions, send us our way if you have any solutions. But we're super excited to really be working with HBCU MSA for us to really support not just the anti-racism work in MSAs, but also resources, right? Because a lot of MSAs, especially conversations have folks, and I wanted to hear more of if that is the case. But I hear that MSAs in a certain the lack of resources in MSAs is going to be it's going to reflect in also where the university is, right? So if folks are really folks that are going to Harvard or whatnot, their MSAs are probably going to have resources because their university has resources, right? So but more of the state colleges and HBCUs that are typically under resources, probably also the MSAs are going to have less resources because the university stuff doesn't have as much. Some universities are not going to have as much resources. So we got to make sure that we are, as a community, are creating equity as well, right? In that, because we have a great, equity disparity within our community when it comes to knowledge, when we talk about history, when we talk about scholars that we invite, scholars that we praise, and so on. But we gotta make sure that our young folks are also challenged and empowered to make those changes.
And so when you talk about the equity, and you talk about just making, well, I'll stick with the equity, but when you talk about the equity, one thing that comes to mind, and I had shared this before, is that, some of the simple solutions, at least from our perspective, are, us finding out who has an active MSA at the HBCU campuses, and making sure that those institutions are listed on the national level for the national MSA, right? So that as trainings and as resources are being disseminated, that they're also included in that share of the resources. So those are some of the things. And I was just wondering, as we get ready to wrap up, Imam Bilal jump back in with us, but I was just wondering from Safiyyah and also from Fajr if there were any immediate solutions that you could think of that would help to close some of the divide between MSA National and also HBCU MSAs.
Safiyyah, do you want to go first or me?
I was getting ready to throw it your way. Go ahead.
Okay. Cool. Look, we had that telepathy going. I think one of the, most efficient things you can do, or you guys can do on base, is just really having conversations, hearing what the HBCU Muslim students have to say, instead of like just creating, theories and doing some research. I think talk to the students, talk to the people that are, being affected or have this experienced discrimination. I have people in my family, like my little sister, she has a little feelings about even in the masjid of like, maybe one time she's trying to pray, but then, a little auntie gonna go comment on something and just disrupts her whole spirit. So I'm saying, like, maybe have conversations with the people you guys are trying to help or trying to create that gap, instead of, just like, what do we think? Have those real conversations of experiences and how they would like to see that divide come to a gap. But I just think that there also needs to be an overall respect for the Black community. That's one thing I do think that is lacking from sometimes the international community. No offense, just this whole thing of, everything we're doing is, maybe we don't know what we're doing. Whatever this perception is like, subhanallah, like, I think that there just needs to be a genuine respect. Not only you have American racism, but yes, within the Islamic racism of maybe you certain cultures think that they're higher or better than cultures, which we know does not exist in Islam, but maybe within certain families are taught, and it's really kind of presented when you have a big collective diverse Muslim group together. And I think that as Black Muslims from America, it's very evident to pick up on, because we pick up on it all the time with just white America and everything. So we can feel that. And so I think just really listening to what we have to say and the students you guys are trying to deal with. And it is the country we live in, we built. So it's kind of like also too kind of disrespectful. I feel like sometimes when certain people are feeling like they know all this whatever, when Islam was in the essence of this foundation, we would sneak out the plantation to pray and all that type of stuff, when we sometimes are classified as not knowing as much or not speaking full Arabic, but our faith is totally there. And we may be going through certain stuff of, like the brother said, dealing with the projects, or certain like stuff that normal people who have been sheltered or protected from doesn't really have to deal with, but keeps a lot at the forefront of their faith. But then they may not know the Arabic, so somebody's like, they don't really know what they're doing, but they may have stronger faith than somebody who knows the whole Quran. So you never know. Allah can only judge the hearts, but I think really having that clear sincerity of respect for the people that have been here and that they're trying their best, and to really have that representation of listening to what the students really have to say to make it more better.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you.
I'm going to add to what our sister just shared. So I have a few notes up here, and I'm going to get into the question, but the notes that I have up here included like an Islamic chaplain. So the comment that Bilal made earlier about the e-board, that had me laughing, because if there was a stronger e-board, our MSAs wouldn't salam out, they wouldn't fade to black like that. They would keep going and keep running. Sister Fajr, you mentioned the theme that I got from your talk, alhamdulillah, is balance. You want to be involved, but you want to be involved and still maintain some inner peace and not just be going all, just not feeling scattered, and still just have that full college experience, which is beautiful. So we want balance. And then to answer the question, I would say a virtual course on the African American experience and contribution, because if you don't know that, you're going to be stepping on people's toes. And it's like, I don't need you to tell me what year the Prophet Muhammad, praise be upon him, was born. That's an insult. Like, you don't know. And because you don't know, you're going to be stepping on people's toes. So if that was made a necessity, especially for those who want leadership positions in MSA, if the leaders are educated, it's going to trickle down to everybody else included. So educated leaders, educated members, that cultural sensitivity will grow, and everyone will feel like, you know, we're coming from different nations and tribes. Your method is not better than mine. The way you wear your khimar is not better than mine. I love you for the sake of Allah. When it's time for iftar, we're going to eat everybody's food, but just have that solid level of respect. And I would really love for the language of Imam Wabdi Muhammad to be very much included in terms of a basic understanding as well as the different African American Muslim experiences, because we're not the only one. There's so many, and they also deserve that moment.
Beautiful, beautiful. This has been an awesome conversation, and I'm gonna let Imam Bilal, you know, get the last piece in there. But I just wanted to say that this has been a beautiful conversation, one in which we've been able to hear a bunch of different perspectives and different experiences with Muslim student associations. We are, you know, someone had posted, and I can't remember the brother's name. I think his name is Brother Nayo, but he had posted yesterday that his wife had gotten accepted into a social work program at Rutgers. And you know, I sent my congratulations. And then one of the pieces that I added to the end was human excellence, right? And so when I think of Muslims, especially young Muslims, you know, and those who are striving to make their mark in this world and you know, study for a specific discipline in order to be successful, not just for themselves, but for their families and their communities. I think of us and operating in our human excellence. And as we strive to do that on a higher level, and as more of our young people are going off to college and really going forward towards that experience, it's important for us to make sure as much as we can that we support that experience fully, and that we also do what we can so that they stay connected to the community from which they left, right? And ideally, they also then bring back those resources which they've acquired from the universities and colleges that they go to, and bring it back to the community in order to make that environment much more rich. And in doing so, the community and as a whole has to be able to provide as much support to that, to keep the tie and to keep that connection. And so I just wanted to share that before Imam Bilal comes in with the closeout, drop the mic piece.
We'll try. I think this conversation has been rather rewarding in a lot of different ways. I think there's a lot of key takeaways from these type of conversations, and these type of conversations are open book conversations that need to happen on a bigger scale. So I do like the ideas that have been shared so far, and I think that it's crucial for us to get busy on this type of work. Busy, it's work that no one else is going to do. When it came to me about the HBCU MSA Coalition idea, of course I accepted. I could have said no, but in my spirit, my heart is still for our collective experience as Muslim students on these campuses. And I know that, well, we have to see it not from our own personal picture, that we should see it from the community or the collective picture. and it's like a painting. And in the painting, you may see one thing initially when you initially look at it, but if you take some time and actually analyze a good painting, you would see that there's a lot of other things that you may not have picked up when you first glanced at it. And I think that analogy it goes for our experience, that the painting that we have, we have our individual paintings that when we bring our individual paintings together, it forms this collective picture, this bigger picture that we all want to look at and analyze and see, okay, this is what happened here, this is what happened there. How can we make it better for the ones who are coming behind us? Because all the work that we're doing now is not merely for us. I mean, yes, it's for us so we can be okay, but we have to start thinking about, which I'm glad that we're utilizing this time to do so. And to further that is those who are coming behind us, because they're going to inherit whatever decision making that we make now, and the decisions that we make are imperative, because if we screw up, then they're going to inherit a messed up situation. And it's something that someone said today on the mentoring call that I run, a director of, our special guest shared, and the topic of music or rap, hip hop came up, and he had made a comment that I think is relative to this conversation too. Is that his era, where he grew up in, obviously he's an older gentleman, grew up on that old school music, really old school music, and there were things that music is generational. Everything is generational, so it's like one generation may not like this person's generation's music, another person may like this generation's music. It's the same thing with what happened in that climax. We might in that climate of those eras. We may not have liked what happened in this era. May not have liked what happened in the era. The older people may not like what we're doing now. It's vice versa. It's generational. The point is, you can't disrespect someone else's. Like, if that's what you like, and that's what you do, that's what you do. But it's like the way that it's the way that it is now. It is that we have to come together on this common term. And this common term here has to be the focus on how can Al-Islam, not only Al-Islam is preserved, we know this for sure, but how can our children and the generation coming behind us have Al-Islam preserved while they're on campus? If there's no active MSA, if there's no active Muslim presence, then how can you expect our children or our siblings, as I'm saying, who decide to make a decision to go to an HBCU, and they come in, they don't have anything. They have to do things from scratch. We shouldn't have to do things from scratch no more. That's my point. Nothing should be done from scratch. And so I'm saying there should be a legacy that's transitioned, and I talk about this a lot. Transitional leadership. You come in, someone comes in, they do the job, they're grooming someone else. When they get to their junior year, you should be thinking about who can you take up as a sophomore who could be mentored for this position or for this leadership or to accept this role. Yes, I'm saying, and for the brothers, my last point, for the brothers, please, we for the men, we have to take a serious step back and seriously analyze the situation, because the sisters, when I look at these MSAs, they're dominated by sisters. Wallahi, so I'm saying this. I'm not making this up. So I'm saying I am not making this up, and it goes back to the piece that we talk about a lot on this platform. We talked about this before, about how the man, or the image of the male, especially African American men, have been modern day. We're living in Pharaoh's scheme. So in Pharaoh's scheme, he says, kills off the men, kill off the leadership, and let the women live. So the women are living, they're thriving, so they think, but they're really competing in the same system that they still, even the sisters don't get the same type of respect in these industries as their white counterparts do, in terms of salary, in terms of this. So it's still, even though they may have 2 PhDs, they may have run all these books. I'm not saying nothing's wrong with that. Go ahead, get all of it. But the brothers, we really have to take a step back when we come to these MSAs. The brothers, please, we have to we really have to do this work, because there should be no brother. A brother should know how to do a khutbah, a basic 30-minute, 20-minute khutbah, in and out. This is college. I'm not standing here for an hour. You understand what I'm saying? It's not the masajid. It's 20 minutes, in and out. So now keep it nice, short, brief, straight to the point. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are some of the things that leadership training that needs to be provided. And we're hoping to be able to provide those opportunities for the brothers, so, and for the sisters too. But my focus too is on the brothers too, because, you know, we can't let the sisters just take on all the responsibility and the brothers just sit around and make me come to a meeting here and there. Like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, we have to be balanced in our perspective. So, inshallah, that is all I have to say. I think this was a fruitful conversation, and we hope to keep these conversations going on. And there's going to be a lot of work that's going to be happen behind the scenes, as I say, BTS footage behind the scenes, that is going to work on the tangible goals that we would like to work on in terms of the work that is ahead of us in the short term and the long term. So stay tuned. We'll have more updates as those come out, and we'll be able to share those more publicly. But these are some of the things that we want to talk about. But we are open to suggestions. So those who are tuned in now or tuned in later, who went to the HBCU and were part of the MSA, or as Brother Anthony said, he took a shahada on HBCU campus, but there was no active MSA when he was there. So, you know, alhamdulillah, this is a story for a lot of other brothers and sisters I met. They took their shahada while they were on campus. So that's another story as well. So this is a beautiful conversation. I don't want to take up too much more time, but and get everyone else's closing remarks. I know Sister Fajr, her phone probably died, but we're grateful for her coming on as well. And Sister Safiyyah, we're grateful for you coming on as well, as always. We appreciate you. Sister Ayana, of course, we appreciate you, and we look forward to continue working with you all in the foreseeable future, inshallah. Sister Marsha.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this was a great conversation. Again, as Bilal said, we appreciate you all for being a part and really just being, I guess, at the beginning stages of some good work to come. And Safiyyah, them earrings are giving me life. I could not get off of this show without telling you that them earrings are giving me my whole life right now. But yeah, no, this has been a great conversation, and I really am looking forward to the good work to come from it. My closing remarks are just, you know, for those who are on our college campuses as a Muslim, my prayer is that you maintain and stay connected to your faith, and also, you know, get the benefits of being in the institution as you are, right, and really having that full experience, because that's, you know, that's a part of it too. And I know I would say also for the parents out there, you know, trust that you've cultivated your baby to do what is good and right, and is, you know, morally upright, and you know, allow them to step into their greatness. And I also just wanted to say, in terms of the connection between the HBCU MSA Coalition and the National MSA, you know, I think that this is some good work that is coming, and it's some needed work. And so I appreciate the National MSA for even, you know, having this as even an initiative for them. You know, it didn't necessarily have to be so. For so many people, business as usual goes on, and they don't take the time to stop. But the fact that this is something that is going to be tackled as an initiative is awesome. It's awesome. And so I look forward to it. And so those are my closing remarks.
The last Sister Safiyyah, do you want to share something?
Yes, thank you all so much for the invitation, and thank you for everybody's contribution to this conversation this evening. And I pray that for all of those going into college, inshallah, I pray that you have an amazing experience, and know that you're not just there to get your degree, you're also there to graduate in your soul. Allah is always with you. So irregardless if you have Muslim friends or non-Muslim friends, make sure that you are bound with the believers. If you are praying by yourself, pray by yourself as long as you need to until you connect with who Allah wants you to connect with, and Allah will bring you all together. And if you have any challenges when it comes to establishing and maintaining the MSA, Allah will give you a double portion of His mercy. Don't worry, just hold on. Like inshallah, there'll be some conferences coming soon from this conversation based off what I'm getting at. And it's just been a blessing to be here. It's been great to meet Sister Ayana Jama and Sister Fajr, her perspective, Sister Marsha, your perspective, Imam Bilal, your perspective. So I'm grateful for you all, and inshallah we'll talk soon and we'll have another discussion like this in the near future.
Thank you, Sister Safiyyah. Sister Ayana.
Similar to what Safiyyah said, thank you everyone for this great conversation. This was wonderful, and this is what the work is about, us having conversations, making sure that, we're building together, and I'm looking forward to all that, inshallah we will accomplish as a community, as a ummah, and the work that we will continue to do together. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless it all. And yeah, thank you all for having me. And it was lovely meeting new faces today, Sister Safiyyah and Sister Fajr, who just dropped off. So looking forward to continuing to work together.
Alhamdulillah, it's beautiful. Very beautiful. Thank you all. We appreciate everyone. Just like to remind everyone that please, if you enjoyed this nice conversation, please like our pages, New Freedom Exchange, New Freedom Network. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, New Freedom Exchange, New Freedom Network. Tomorrow we'll be back at the same time, same place, 7 o'clock for our conversation with the community of around the word of life, with our special guest, the Folklore community, who we continue to build relationship with them as well. So please come back and join us in that conversation around the word of life, a community conversation. So everyone is invited to come and participate in that conversation tomorrow at 7 o'clock. We do have announcement. There is an announcement coming up. I mean, there's a lot of things coming up, but there is a couple of events coming up. Be remiss to not mentioning that we are honoring Mesh Muhammad Newark of New Jersey is honoring one of the establishing pioneers of Al-Islam in the city of Newark, New Jersey, Brother Wali Muslim, dating back 67 years. This is tremendous pioneers. Some who came in with him have already passed, but this is a fitting tribute to him while he's alive. The tickets are $100, and it will be at the Masjid Nia Masjid on March 19th. March 19th. So we'll share the flyer I don't have it loaded up here, just going off of what I recall. But this is an important event, again, talking about the history of, like we mentioned, of Al-Islam in this country. And this is something that one of the pioneers of that experience. So that's happening. It's a fundraiser. So there's no freebies. So you come out your pocket, $100. You will get catered food from Sister Daisy Grant, who is a chef. She will be catering for the event. Speaking of chef, we have Sister Huda, Chef Huda. Cooking with Huda has started. This is a new segment that will air every the last Thursday of every month at 7 o'clock. The first episode is up, so if you missed it, don't worry. You can go back and look at it on our YouTube and Facebook pages. It is a short video, so it's not a long watch. And she'll be back every month, the last Thursday at 7 o'clock. But her event is happening. The Taste of India. She's doing special catered dishes around Indian food. Professional chef is happening on March 19th. Tickets are $50 for that, I believe. Yes, $50 for the tickets. That's happening on March 19th too. That's in Chester. PA. We will share the flyer for that as well. So if you're in the area, please come out to support Chef Huda and her exclusive, intimate catering experience, because it's very limited attendance. It's met like that for a reason, for it to be intimate in terms of the experience. That's all I have per se. Ramadan is coming up, so we will be looking to continue programming in the month of Ramadan as well, inshallah, God willing. There's around 30 odd days left to the month of Ramadan, so we will be doing that and covering, looking to retrofit our schedule, retrofit some topics around our Ramadan experience. So stay tuned for that, inshallah. And that's about it for right now. That's all I have. And until, I guess
I was able to also download the flyer, so I'll put it up. This is the flyer for the Master Muhammad Noor, honoring our very own Wali Musa, March 19th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The tickets are $100. Like Imam Bilal said, Sister Daisy of Halal Soul Catering will provide the food, and DJ Black Seed will provide the entertainment. So inshallah, if you can come out, we would love to have you. If you can't come out, but you still want to support, alhamdulillah, for that, we appreciate your support. And that'll be at Masjid Nia.
Yes, we appreciate everyone come for this, tuning in. And like always, again, everyone is family. We love you all. And what song do we want to close out with? I mean, I know we need to get some new music on this thing, man.
You pick. I don't have a preference for tonight.
All right, I'll pick a song. So anyway, we love everyone. We'll hopefully see everyone on Sunday tomorrow at 7:00. Until next time, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Never fearful if this life can't change her. I'ma tell you the truth, yeah, we all disappearer. I'ma tell the youth not be and despairer. Yeah, what's the move with it though? Oh, gotta show some proof with it though, so they could be in the know. Go be that glow. Why be weak, clean, come true, grow? Why be weak, clean, come true, grow? You know that the truth has been here. Don't worry about them, this for your soul. Study to make them intentions clear. Bust true queens, break the molds, grow in pains and shed all them tears. Clean in pains, heavy flow. Heavens like this, hand in tears. I'm on point, stay on my toes. Still be kind to all these foes. Got no time, my soul got go. Go. It's way ahead, yo, you ain't no 5 trees, let's go, get that cold. Queen gon' get that knowledge. Queen gon' get your knowledge. Queen gon' get that knowledge. Queen gon' get that knowledge. Queen gon' get that knowledge. Queens every day, always. Yeah. Queens all day, we slay. Yeah. Queens every day, always. Yeah. Queens all day, we slay. Yeah. Queens every day, always. Yeah. Queens all day, we slay. Yeah. Queens, Ramin. Queens. We be them queens in a building, you feel me? Queens in a place to be right now.
Queens, come get that night, come get that night.
You say that you a queen, but really do you research? Better go and get that knowledge or it will just hurt. The fact that you don't know your worth and it's been hidden under turf, and how you will never know unless you get up and go.